Good evening. How is everybody this evening? Sounds like the weather has dipped again from the sounds on the roof here. And also it feels like I've been in this room for quite a while, because I don't know if you saw, but this afternoon I had a lovely afternoon crafting with Leonie over on her Facebook page and on YouTube. So I know I said last week we would probably do a sales show today, but actually a few things came up from that Facebook and YouTube with Leonie this afternoon. So I've picked up some of the bits that I was doing from there to continue, because there was also some questions. So hang on, I'm just gonna get this going on my phone as well, so that in case I'm missing comments, that's got everything there. Right, okay. So, good evening. So this afternoon, while I was playing with Leonie's beautiful stamps, the Nicholas Tower ones, Leonie was playing with a few bits of ours. So she had some stamps and some fusible film and stuff like that. So instead of being a Facebook Live category on the website today, there is one that says Let Leonie Loose. If you look in there, that's the products I was using this afternoon, and I'm going to pick up with some of them this evening as well. Another little reminder, I have added another online workshop to the website for April. Yeah, because March we're doing the online bookbinding one. The April one is going to be all about rubber stamping, and hi Claire. And the idea with that one is that it's going to all be techniques that you can do using your own stamps. So, you know, you might have rubber, wood mounted rubber stamps, you might have the clear ones, you might have anything, but I'm going to try and cover it all, so you won't need to buy additional equipment. It's all about getting you using what's in your house. So that's on the website as well. There are also some new in-person ones, including another Mixed Media Mayhem, and anybody that did the last Mixed Media Mayhem will be familiar with the technique I'm about to do. So check out the website for workshops as well. So let's make a start. So I did a lace paper project this afternoon, and I very quickly scanned over how to do it. But then there was a message in there about please can I do it in more detail. So here we go. But because this is a bit more impromptu, I had to make my paste this evening. Didn't have a saucepan at work, but I do have a little single burner hob, which is fine. And I had the corn flour, which I needed for it, but didn't have a saucepan, didn't have a wooden spoon. So I confess I made it in a dog bowl on the single burner hob using a paintbrush instead of a wooden spoon. But needs must and all of that. So let me just talk you through it. I'm just going to cut this tissue down a bit so I haven't got a huge amount and you can actually see what I'm doing. But also anybody that watched this afternoon, apologies that I couldn't use my usual setup. So I was using a wired mic straight to my phone, which was in the way all the time. I also had half the desk space I have now. So this feels like a luxury, but we made it work. Okay, so what I've got here is some tissue. I'm going to open it up because it just makes life a little bit easier. And then in my dog bowl, I made this gloop. This is 1 part corn flour to 8 parts water. Well, that's the proper recipe. But again, because I was making this impromptu, didn't have my measuring spoons or anything. So it's probably a little bit more watery. But anyway, so you get your corn flour and your water, you mix it together, and at that point it is a white liquid. You then put it in a saucepan and heat it up. Saucepans are a lot easier than a dog bowl, but it worked. And as you're heating it, you'll start to see it, little sort of clearish bits appearing in it, almost like tapioca, if you remember tapioca. And that's where it's starting to cook and thicken. And that's exactly what you do. You keep going till it becomes this translucent-y look. And then you take it off the heat, pour it into a jar or something. Again, all I'd got was a jug. let it cool down, and then you get this most amazing, like a wallpaper paste consistency. I am working, I don't know if you can see that, on some plastic here so that I don't stick this to the table or make the table really messy. So it is very much an old traditional recipe. The important thing is to cook out the flour. It just thickens your paste up and also gives it a little bit more of a, less likely to go off. The paste itself, if you leave it in in a sealed container, it would go off eventually. Once it's dry, you're better off. Okay. Good evening, everybody that's watching. Right, so I've just put a generous amount of the paste down. Now, can you see that jug? So I'm going to take my string or thread, and can you see I'm holding it against the edge of the jug with the pasty paintbrush. It was the only paintbrush I could find, by the way. Needs must. I thought, yeah, I'll show this tonight. Not actually thinking practically about the fact that I hadn't prepared for this. Fortunately, I do always seem to have corn flour here, which is tricky then when I need to do something with corn flour at home, like cooking. Now, you don't have to paste the thread as well. I just think it gives it a little bit of extra. So I'm sort of running the brush through this. You could cut this into length, but I'm just sort of trailing it down. Okay. I'm going to cut that bit off and start another bit. Don't know how well you can see that. Probably should have done it. I'll tell you what, I've got string under here. I'm going to do it with string just so you can see it a little bit easier, because I don't think the thread's showing up as well. So again, running it through the tack paste so it's getting a little bit pasty. Okay, and then arranging it down on our pasted tissue. Okay, until you keep going until you've got a lovely pattern. Now this could be a random pattern like I'm doing. You could do a specific pattern. You could do crisscross. You could do whatever you fancy. Okay. Right, I don't know what's happened to my ball of string here, but it's chaos on the floor here. Right, one more bit just to show you. I love this. And this paste is fabulous as well if you mix in some ink or some paint. It becomes the paste for doing paste papers. So anybody that does bookbinding will be familiar with paste papers. They're the traditional papers that you use to make end pages, which are the decorative ones. Okay, that'll do. Okay, so just arrange that so you've got like this random, like the ones we used to squiggle and then colour in, that sort of thing. Right, and then you're going to bring remember I folded this? I'm then going to fold it back down, and I'm going to start to squidge it down. Okay, and you want to get it right around your string or your thread. Okay, which is why we dipped the string and stuff in the paste, so that we can really, really sandwich this. Okay, so just go around. Yes, this is exactly the corn flour I was talking about. So it's this sort of consistency you're looking for, but say you need to cook it out. Had I had a saucepan and a wooden spoon, I would have done it live on air to show you, but as I was using a dog bowl and a paintbrush, I didn't think that was really prudent. But so just keep going down, smooth it down, and then leave it to dry. And if you leave it on something like a sheet of plastic, when it's dry it will just peel off, because at the moment it's quite delicate. Okay, leave it to dry. Doesn't take that long to dry. It is like phyllo pastry. probably about as tasty sometimes. Yes, just leave that to dry. And you know I said about paste paper. Let's very quickly do a tiny little bit. I haven't got any, oh, I've got micas. Have I? No. Why is it? Because I tidied away. Right, anyway, this will work. There you go. So I've just put some ink down there. So this is paste paper. You would put your paste down with a bit of colour in it. Make patterns using whatever tools, materials you've got. And then you take a piece of paper. I'm going to use a bit of the tissue again because I think that might be quite nice. There's that bit I cut off. And then you place it down and you lift it off and you get these lovely papers. It's actually better if you use a paint or something like that, but just a way of using up your paste, and then you get these lovely backgrounds that you can work with. In fact, let's very quickly do, I've got barn door here, so let's just very quickly do, so that's a bit of ripe persimmon, bit of barn door, just put a little bit of paste down there. And because I'm going home in a minute, I can do this just with my fingers. Just make that colour. So if you've got mica, I've only got a gold mica, but it'll work. Okay, so this is just, let's dab another little bit on. Oh yeah, that's working. Okay, so you smear, I'm going to put a bit more paste in there. So smear it all around, and then this is where you could really go to town, get different materials, different tools for making marks. There's a towel, let me just dry my fingers. So I don't know what I've got. I've got a knife, I've got the end of a paintbrush, that'll do. So you make patterns. In fact, this is quite, so you can make patterns, swirls, you know, whatever patterns you want. This is just a way of using up this, by the way. This isn't really what we're supposed to be doing. Put your paper on, pull it off, and then you've got this lovely patterny paper that you're going to use. I'm going to do another one off that, because this, as I made this paste with a dog bowl and a wooden, and no measuring spoons, it's a little bit thinner than I really wanted, but I'm just showing you this. It's just a fun way of using up this paste. I mean, it does keep. I mean, I've sort of only used a teaspoon of corn flour. You've just got these lovely, and then I'd save these backgrounds and use them for all sorts. Right, okay. That's enough about the actual paste. So we've got our paper underneath there drying. I'm going to move that out of the way. So when they're dry, they come out looking like this. So obviously this is, I did as a grid pattern. And you can just work with them like this, and they're fabulous because they're quite, here, that's quite robust, quite crunchy. Got a bit of translucency to them. Now I've just used white tissue here, but you imagine if you've got fancy tissue paper and stuff like that, you could do this, or rice papers. Yes, it is tissue paper, Christine. But yeah, rice papers, anything like that. But what we're about to do, I would avoid doing with something like rice papers. Maybe if you've got one that you're not so keen on, or this works with napkins as well. You know, the decorative napkins. Right, bear with me a minute. No, that's the coffee one. One of my spray bottles, this great idea to label them. One's coffee, one's water. Right, so what I'm going to do is I've got like a fancy cotton bud, and I'm going to apply water to some of these panels. Okay, just a few panels. Let it soak in for a minute, and this is why you want to use the corn flour glue. Apart from the fact it's cheap as chips to do, you want a glue that's going to disintegrate again, but also reset again. Now, a lot of PVAs. Hi Denise, are you off somewhere nice? Or are you cooking dinner? Yeah, if you're using a PVA, if you leave it too long to work on the paper, you might not be able to do this. You might not be able to reactivate it. Whereas the corn flour is just, so I'm just wetting them, leaving them to soak for a minute. And then I'm going to come in with my finger and sort of scrape. And you start to make holes in it. Now, because this is 2 layers, you can sometimes just peel away 1 layer and just leave it. And just, now obviously this is a grid one, so it's going to have more of a fishing net feel to it. And you just go through until you're happy with the distressed look that you've got. You see there, I've only taken 1 layer away, so we've still got a little bit of opacity to it. Okay, rubbing that. So you're just starting to, and now it's soft at the moment, but as soon as you let it dry, it goes back to being hard. Okay. And then again, if you want to tear this down into smaller sections, wet where you want to tear. Okay. And then start to ease. Now obviously when you get to a thread, you are going to have to snip it because it's not going to want to give. But also you don't want to, you want to keep this lovely distressed feel. So sometimes you can sort of just peel and snip. This was so tricky earlier with that cable for my mic. I was thinking, I'm going to snip this cable and then nobody's going to be able to hear me. Okay. Snip. And you see, you get, by doing the tearing, you get this lovely natural edge. And then you would just go around and do all sides. Okay. Once you've got the piece down to the size that you want to work with, you're going to come in. Now, this could be spray inks, this could be your micas, this could be your distress sprays, whatever you want. But I am actually going to come in, because I had it made up from earlier. This is coffee. Okay. Just, I made the coffee with 3 teaspoons, so it was really quite strong. Okay, going to get it nice and wet. So again, at this point, if you want to distress more, you can do, because you're making it wet. I'm then going to come in and I'm just going to sprinkle some whole grains of instant coffee on. Let them soak for a second and you'll see them start to disperse. If any, like this one up here, isn't dispersing, give him another little spritz. Okay. Just to make sure he's starting to go. And then let's spruce this up even more. So I've got one of my bags of mica. These are still on the website, so if you want micas, they're on the website. Okay, so I'm dusting my brush into the mica, giving it a little shake in the bag so there's not so much on it, and then just sort of tapping it over the top. Now the mica does need that moisture to activate the binding agent in it and make it work. So this is why you do this while it's wet. But can you see it's starting to just sort of explode out? Let's do another bit there. Okay, and then you just want to let that soak. Okay, and just let everything soak in naturally, because you're also getting all those crumples. Let it soak, let it dry. Try not to speed it up with a heat gun, as tempting as it is. Try not to, because it's nicer if you let everything just find its own level. You'll get these bits where it goes darker because it's deeper there, and these granules that we sprinkled on, they'll spread out more. Again, obviously you could use your proper ink crystals and things like that, but I do like a bit of coffee. Okay, and then obviously underneath we've got this fabulous bit anyway. So then you want to leave that to dry again. Okay, onto my drying rack under there. And I am going to be good. And now this is what I was doing this afternoon, and I had this lovely idea of, and I did it, and if you go back and watch that Facebook Live and YouTube from earlier, you'll see what I did. But while I was doing that, Leonie was working with our fusible film. Now, you've seen me doing fusible film lots of times. And she did this fabulous card with these little frames. It was our little frame stamps, these ones. And she was using those, and it was brilliant. But as I was looking, I was thinking, how fabulous would that be, peeking out behind those holes in that lacy card? So, like Leonie, well, I'm going to tell a lie. I was going to say I hadn't got my iron here. Not strictly true. I've got that one. Not overly helpful for fusible film, but it will have a place in a minute. So I have got my heat gun. So this is a bit of an impromptu Facebook, but hey, that's half the fun of crafting, isn't it? So again, I only sent Leonie 2 colours, so I've stuck to that, and I've got 2 colours, so it's the same 2 colours. Now this Purple Flash, which is the one that Leonie was using as well, actually was had fallen down behind something and has been stood on and all sorts, but actually that means it's got loads of fabulous texture. So I'm going to cut myself a few bits of these. I'm going to make 2 or 3 bits here because I want this to be poking out from behind our lovely lacy paper. You're not at home. Yeah, I'm not sure we have a public broadcasting licence. Right, I'm just sort of screwing these up. That's great with a microphone, that noise. Sorry, Sarah, you have turned it down already, haven't you? Please tell me, otherwise people are going to want... I mean, just move this. But I also found some tin foil. Okay, so let's get some bits. So I'm going to sandwich a few bits together. I'm going to tear some few bits up. Okay, I'm going to tear... And I'm just going to make like a little pile here. Yes, and oh, I know I'm working on my cutting mat. Hang on, I have got a bit of parchment under here. It's going to protect my cutting mat a little bit. See, pays not to tidy up. Right, so heat gun. Now I've got my, this is the non-directional one. So it's starting to do, but I want it to bond together. So I'm going to use my flat iron to press it down. And I'm pressing it into that lovely tin foil. So it's starting to take on that fabulous texture. Look at the colours. Okay, that's one bit. Again, let's just pile these up. And again, remember, you can encapsulate things in here. I'm going to re-scrumple my tin foil, possibly. I mean, again, because I'm reusing what I had lying around, possibly a fresher piece of tin foil would have been fine. But, you know, needs must. We make it work. So just let it do its thing. See, it sort of shrinks in on itself. The colours are changing. I'm going to just flick to there. Can you see those colours? Because I don't know, sometimes the overhead camera struggles a little bit. Okay. And I think that'll probably do. Let's just do one more with maybe something else underneath. Let me see what I've got that I can use as texture. Conveniently, pile of string. Okay, This is going to be a challenge for me to keep it all still while I do this. Okay. So just letting it. See, I could have captured the string inside as well. I'm going to just. It's less sort of, it's a different texture to it. I'm going to just do a little bit on that. Okay. See how the colours change. Give that a good old press down. You just get these fabulous feelings. So I've got some bits there. Right, okay. So I did this bit earlier. So this is that lovely lace paper. So big holes in it. You can see the shimmer of the mica. You can see that it's dried and how beautifully stained it is. That's the back side. That's the front side with that lovely coffee staining. And I've got these big holes in it. And I was just thinking, how fabulous would it be with something really a bit, it's almost like there's like something, like a dragon or something behind it, okay? But I want to have something, a focal point stamp. So I'm going to use our floral tile, because again, that's in, so on the website, as well as all the individual items, you can buy the Let Leonie Loose bundle, which has got everything that I sent Leonie to play with, so that you can play and you can go and watch this one back. You can go and watch Leonie's back and see all the different things that she was doing with the things I sent. I just love that. I mean, you could also ink specifically around the edge there and it would have a burnt look, which would be really cool as well. So I want now a piece of brown paper. That's just an old piece of paper bag. I'm going to take a book page, and I'm still working through my coffee stained papers that I did the other week. I mean, there's just an ancient feel to that. Right, so I'm going to go with this one because I think that's got the most interest in it. So I've got my floral tile. I'm tempted to use my Versa. I was crafting at home yesterday and I realised all my stamps were here, all my ink pads were here from a workshop, and the only thing I'd got was my tiny little Versa colours. So it doesn't hurt to sometimes go back and use your old stuff. So I'm going to stamp this 3 times, 1 on each paper. I'll decide the order in which I'm going to do them in a minute. Okay, that one. Just takes a longer time to cover up the stamp when you're using a teeny tiny ink pad. But also this is a pigment ink, so if I wanted to heat emboss, I could. Okay, I'm gonna go, ooh, I want that really lovely agey bit across there. Okay. And then last, we're going to go on the book page. Decisions and energy. That's unlike me today. By the way, talking to yourself for hours actually is tiring, as I discovered on Sunday. Who knew? Right, make sure everything's out of the way. We're going to go smack bang in the middle there. I have got my stamping platform underneath. I'm going to turn the heater down a minute. There we go. Do that with my foot. Okay, so we've got this fabulous Now we're going to cut out, she says, if she remembers where she put her scissors. Can you see them poking out the side there? Right, so I just need to look. I think, obviously, because that's coffee stained and that's coffee stained, that's too similar. So I think this needs to be my biggest layer. So, cutting it down. I mean, I could mount it on a bit of black first if I wanted to. So right, this is the reason I struggled there. This is a paper bag, and of course I aimed for the bit where the handle was. So I think I am going to take away the bits in between the petals, just to give it a little bit more movement, because we've got this lovely distressed background. I want to make sure we see lots of it, otherwise we're going to end up covering up most of it, and we don't want that. Okay, so pull that out. There we go. Yeah, that's working. Maybe there. Right. Next I want to go with, I think we'll go with the coffee stained one next. And we're going to come a layer in on this. Again, all these little bits here, they don't get wasted. Although you can't watch live online anymore, if you did want to join the junk journal workshop we did at the weekend, if you contact me, you can pay to, as if you were going to do it, and just watch it after the fact. Just because it's happened doesn't mean you can't take part in it. And every day I'm doing posts for that group that did the workshop to make sure that everything is covered when Facebook delete the videos, because don't know if you have heard, but Facebook Lives are now only going to be kept for 30 days on Facebook's server, which is why I go on and I download them and then upload them to my YouTube so that they're available even after the 30 days. Just so when you're next on YouTube, subscribe to the Stamps Away YouTube channel so that you can have access to these after Facebook have deleted them. I suspect a lot of people are going to be uploading things to YouTube because we don't want to lose these resources. Right, I think I'm happy with that. Now, I think I'm going to need black card. Bear with me a minute while I rummage. Yeah, that bit's not big enough. Right, ignore the fact that this is a giant piece. And I want it to be, is that big enough? Yeah. I would obviously trim this down properly. Glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, it was fun. Okay, I think I need that black to be slightly bigger. Bear with me one moment. Just realised my trimmer's actually under there, but I'm not sure the world is ready to see the state of my trimmer. That's bad, isn't it? So that'll stay under there. Nobody saw that. I'm going to go a bit bigger. I could always trim it down afterwards, but not on that trimmer and not live on air with that trimmer anyway. Okay, right. I love this lace paper. Such a lovely, lovely material. And the fact that you've made it from nothing, really, you know, what's a box of corn flour? 59p, I think, in Aldi. But just, it feels so fabulous. And the fact you can spruce that up. Okay, so we've got our elements here. Now let's bring in the sushi bit, the fancy bit. I will trim things down in a minute. Do you know what? I'm actually going to bring that off because I want to be able to see more of this fabulous fusible I come there, yeah, okay. Just sort of, I'll move the flower out of the way for a minute. Let's get these holes filled. So, have I got a wet glue here? Because this is going to need a wet glue. I have, but it's gunked up. Is this the only one I've got up here? Looks like it. I did have a bookbinding needle earlier. Yeah, there we go. We popped the top off. There's my paintbrush gone. So I'm going to apply some glue around the hole here. And then I'm going to get that glued onto there. Now it will need a bit of time for that glue to grab because we're talking a plastic here. Is that big enough to go there? Yep. So we're really just going to fill in these holes. So round we go. Stick that across there. Oh look, there's a little hole there. And I'm being quite frugal, even, you know, and just, there's a bit there. And the reason you want to do it is a well-loved trimmer. It's also quite old. It's never retiring though. You want to make sure you cover every hole because that gives the illusion of something behind it. That there's something peeping through, something magical. Okay. So again, just over there. So I've got a bit there that's just a slither. Just going to cut. I'm not holding my paintbrush with my mouse, not at all. That's going to be a bit trickier, that one. So, and again, you can pick which bits of the fusible film you like the best. Okay, around the edges there. I'm going to regret turning this over because I know these are all probably going to fall off because I haven't had enough time to dry on yet. You won't. You will stay. You will stay. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, over. Just straight away, that's really quite magical, isn't it? I mean, I'm not even 100% sure I want to put the flower on now. But there's just something mysterious about it. See, I've got a blank there, which I could put a stamp there. Right, the flower's going on something else in a minute because I just think that has got so much mystery of what is behind, what is peeking through these holes. I'm just going to line that up a bit there. Okay. And the feel of it, and the fact so when you're tearing the edges, if you leave these little strings, these little threads, it just adds that whole that this is torn out of some kind of magical book or something. In fact, that's given me an idea. I do want this to look like it's a bit of writing. So, acrylic block. Where's that string gone? This poor string has been used for so many things other than string today. Okay, so I just need to, all I'm doing is wrapping this around a few times. I'll do. And I'm just tying that off so it's wrapped around. So you see, I've made a stamp. This is going to be a bit of a trick. I don't want it to be full on words. I just want to have a little bit like there's something going on there. I just need to sort that out. So just to see if this is working how I want, I'm just going to, can you see it? It's only subtle. That's what I want. I just want that kind of, that this is some magical manuscript, magical book that this has been. It's not possibly not going to show up. I don't want to go too harsh with the black. That's the... Yeah, it's probably not showing up. But that's the idea, that you can use your string as a stamp. You could see it on there, but it's not really showing up on here. Right, what can I put in there? What flower? What have I got? Stamp. Right, I know what I can do. Okay. I'm going to go to our little frames. Now, if only somebody hadn't just wrapped a load of string around her acrylic block, she could have used it. Right, which one? I think that'll fit nicely. Okay, so we're going to come in, we're going to stamp this onto a piece of the coffee stain again. Okay. Just going to trim that out. And I bet you a pound to a penny I can't find what I want in a second. And I do think it's going, is it going to need a little bit of brown? Maybe. I'll cut a bit just in case. Now, in the stamp sets I was using this afternoon, there was the word magic. What is the chances of me finding that was found this afternoon? Let's have a look. Well, I've got most of the stamps. Let's have a quick look. Hope. Magic. Wow, that's a shocker. I mean, it's been a whole 2 hours since I used it. That's a miracle I found it. Okay. Let's move all of this off there. So I'm just going to stamp the word magic in there. I'm going to use the black again. And for those that did the workshop on Sunday, obviously you would be rummaging for your found words at this point. Not, you know, we had all sorts of words going on. We made a journal page out of Marvin and Tonka's poo bag wrapper. It was my favourite. Oh, who took the lid off the glue? I have to say that background, just those pops, because this is what we were saying this afternoon, is that actually just a small bit of this is perfect. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to have a full-blown large amount of it. Right, I'm going to glue this down to the black, and then I should make one more little thing with the flower that we stamped earlier, because obviously it was going to go on here, then we decided, I say me, so just get that down onto there. We'll need it because it's quite wrinkly. This is why I'm using the wet glue. Just, you know, give it a chance for the glue to dry. Maybe put a little bit of weight on top of it. But I do really, it's just got such a map feel. And in fact, if you've got any tissue or rice paper that has a mappy feel to it, or stamp it before you do anything to it, I just think that's got a really lovely, and the pop of colour coming through there is really nice. Okay, so we're going to put that to one side, and we've still got this flower here. So we could just go as simple as add some bits behind it, like that. And that just looks really nice. So I'm going to go with that. Okay. So to help me see where I need to do it, I'm actually going to give myself a guide. Now, I'm not sure whether this is going to show up for you guys, but I just need to know that I'm covering this properly and not missing. So when I put my stamp over the top, I'm not going to have a gap. Okay. I can just about see that enough. If I have it at an angle, I can see it enough. It's not ideal, but so there and there. Right, so again, I'm going to come in generously with the glue. And because fusible film only fuses to itself, I can't use that to help attach it down. Now, I have got, oh, I'll do that in a minute. Right, don't mind me, I'll just talk amongst myself. So that, and I'm going to take that little bit off there because I don't want to waste anything. And then, is this going to fit? Yep. Okay, it's going to be a bit bumpy, but that's fine. I'll flatten it all down later. Let's just get it constructed first. Okay. And then I'm going to trim this with a black border. Obviously you don't need as much glue as I'm doing here. But as I say, as this was not the Facebook I had originally planned, I think we're doing quite well for improvisation. So obviously that glue's going to dry clear, and what I'd actually probably do is trim it close and then mat it back onto a piece of black, just to make sure that everything's the same level and I've not got any traily bits where I don't want them. And if the glue has, so like that, and then, you know, onto a bit of black. I'm going to now get my black out again. Why do I keep putting my black away? Yeah, you mentioned Luchador earlier, and I'd clean forgotten about Luchador, but I have used it in the past. And as soon as you said that, I thought, yes, that's exactly what it reminds me of. And the fact that you can change your patterns so much easier. I mean, obviously the advantage with Luchador is the fact that it's washable. So for use in textiles and things. Is it washable? I don't know actually, now that I'm saying that. I don't think it is it? Because you used to rub it away. No. Yeah, definitely. I would make your own. And it's just, I say this quite often. Sometimes you've got the time to craft, but you haven't got anything that you know, your brain goes, do you know what? You've got time to craft. I'm going to put your mojo away and leave you so that you don't know what to do. Something like that lace paper is something that you can sit and do because you don't really have to think about it. You can just literally get some paste, start slopping down various things, try adding actual lace into it, different coloured threads, all the little bits and pieces. And, you know, make something like that you can then use at a later date. Just because, you know, you don't have to use everything there and then. You know, it can stack because it does need to dry. Oh, right, that's Paul's not very helpful there. And you think he's forgotten when he needs to log into Amazon that he needs a code from me. Don't read anything into that. So we've got two pieces there that I'm really pleased with. Bear with me. just going to hand the phone across. You can sneak in and take my phone. Yeah, and I was just going to see, I thought I'd left myself some little bits of fusible film to play with. Just don't know what I've done with. Have I knocked them on the floor? No, they're here. Did you just all watch me sweep them up and tidy them up? Probably. Right. So I've got these last little bits left. Let's not waste them. Let's do... I mean, I have got a big bit here, but I'm going to save that for something else. Let's do a quick fusible film snippet roll. So I'm going to take my tape, and so I'm going to move, I'm just going to move the baking parchment a minute because I don't need it there now, and I need the cutting mat because I'm going to, oh actually, could use my iron. Don't you just love that little iron? Isn't it the cutest little thing? Right, so these are all my scraps of fusible film. Okay. And you saw me doing this with Gildan flakes last week. I'm going to cut this up a bit smaller. Just so that I can, and I'm sort of mosaicing it. And try not to overlap any this time. I do need a couple more little bits, so I'm going to borrow some bits off here. Borrow, not going back on there, are they? So yeah, I don't want to overlap. Just filling in the gaps. I'm just going to put that little bit there. Now obviously I could if I had got my iron here, I'd just sandwich these between a piece of baking parchment and iron them again. But because I've done them with the heat gun, I thought actually let's do something different with them. Don't want any bits overlapping, because you'll see why in a minute. It's not very well in the middle, is it? So, okay, trim that off there. Can you see this? So I'm trimming that close to the edge of the tape. There we go. So keep those for another time. I'm going to cut another bit of black. I could do it in 2 bits. So put that. I know this is great. You can't see at the moment. Press it down firmly. I'm going to join that there. Again, pressing it down firmly, then flick it over and really squeeze that down. And then you've got this amazing like mosaic stained glass kind of effect. So I'm just going to trim that down. Again, using up your scraps. And just, I do think that the fusible film and fibres just look amazing on black. Now there, I'd missed a bit that I hadn't trimmed, so I'm just going to trim that down. So now look, you've got that fabulous panel to go on a card. You've got our lovely little flower, and then my favourite piece, we've got our lace paper with its holes peeking through. And that fabulous reflective. I mean, I know it's hard on the overhead camera. So in fact, let's not be mean. Let's do that. Because that's probably going to be less reflect. Move the iron and the tape. So can you see that? just, oh, and the glue top. In fact, let's put the glue top back on the glue before we have an accident. So it's magic, isn't it? So there's that lace paper. And then using some scraps just behind there to set that off. And then really using the scraps with a bit of tape. So it's like poor man's lamination using parcel tape. And you've got it all sandwiched in there. And then under there, I've got all my bits drying from earlier to use a later date. Right, hello again. Right, so, yeah, I think that's pretty much, I'm not going to lie, that isn't what I planned to do. That came about at about 4:45 when a question was asked, how did I do the lace paper? And I thought, actually, do you know what? I can cover that in the Facebook Live, and I'll pop this up on YouTube so you can watch it back. But yeah, it's such a lovely one to do. And you can really go to town because you can then start looking at, if you're using bobbly string or, anything. The string does give it a very different look. In fact, oh no, it's well under there. Yeah, so it has a more of a texture to it, but have coloured threads in there. It doesn't have to be the thin threads like I used. But then look at coffee staining it. Look at it. In fact, bear with me. If I do this, there might be a crash. There's going to be a crash. I'm going to flick. Oh, there's stuff everywhere. I'm just going to quickly, because this is also lace paper here in the background. So I'm going to flick to the side. So again, this is using, I'm going to take that off for a second, because I never did glue that down. This is lace paper as well. So this is with micas and coloured spray and stuff like that. So you can see how effective it is on a mixed media piece. So definitely give that a go. So remember, the recipe is 1 part corn flour to 8 parts water. Now the jug I made there, which you saw, and I've still got loads in there, that was a teaspoon of corn flour. So don't be going like a cup or anything like that. That would make enough for a fleet of crafters. So yeah, 1 part corn flour to 8 parts flour. Mix it together like you would if you're making gravy into a pan, slowly stirring as it's coming up to the boil, and you'll see it change to translucent, from opaque to a more transparency, translucenty kind of look. Take it off the heat, leave it to cool down. It does thicken up as it cools down, so it might seem really watery. Then once it's cool, you're ready to use it. And it just gives everything a really lovely feel, and it's a more traditional glue. So I hope you've enjoyed that. We'll be back this time next week, and we're into March, so we'll have a new theme. This wasn't really the love, but I suppose because I loved this afternoon and it was just a continuation of what we were doing this afternoon. Check out the website for Fusible film and the bits from this afternoon. Also check out the workshops, particularly the online ones for those of you that are further afield, and have a great week, and I will see you next week, same time, same place. Did that work? No, that didn't work. Hang on, what am I doing? No, still that one. There we go. Have a good evening. Take care.